Clark Johnson and Brian Roth. Brian's actually out in the soccer field coaching, and Clark should be joining us right now. But what you're really here for, I'm sure, are these panelists. We have a panel of alumni who have dedicated their weekend to sharing their story about their time at Landmark and where they are in the world now. So the format will be that I will introduce the panelists will introduce themselves, actually. They will speak, they will have some questions that I have prepared for them, and then there'll be an opportunity for you to ask questions from the audience. And then 2:25, we're going to transition into some slides about what our office does to support students looking for internships and how they can build their career readiness skills while at Landmark. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to start off with having our first panelist introduce himself, and I will get you a microphone.
Great, thank you.
There you go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Linkletter. I graduated in the December of 2020. I am from Long Island, New York. And I graduated with my bachelor's degree.
Hey, everybody. My name's Andrew Garcia. I graduated with an associate's degree in liberal studies in 2011 and came here from southern New Hampshire and work as a senior talent sourcer at Chewy today.
Hi, everybody. My name is Charlie Strouk. I graduated in 1984 from Landmark, one of the first 2 years of Landmark's conception. And I'm currently in Southern California, running my own business as an IT.
Hello, my name is Nate Gully. I am from California, and I graduated from Landmark in May of 2020 with a bachelor's in computer science, and now I'm working as a software engineer for Cox Automotive in Burlington, Vermont right now.
Hello, I'm Gianna Eisenberg. I graduated in May 2020. Is this working? Hello?
Yep.
Hello?
Yep.
Okay. Hi, I'm Gianna Eisenberg. I graduated in May 2020 with my bachelor's in psychology. I currently am working in Burlington, Vermont as an evening coach at Mansfield Hall.
Okay, so I'll have you guys that's your mic, okay? The first question is free for all. Raise your hand if you'd like to answer it first. What was your journey after Landmark College?
So my journey after Landmark, since I graduated in the pandemic, I was unemployed for about 3 months. At that time, I was just looking for jobs. I was applying to a bunch of places. I was staying in contact with Landmark College a little bit just to keep the career connections going. Jan was really helpful with that and helping me find a job at Mansfield, but that did take some time. But I did get there.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. My name's Nate, and I guess I already said that. So after I graduated, before I graduated, Landmark helped me get an internship with a company in Burlington, and that's what I was interning with when the pandemic hit and while I was still here. So then after I graduated, I was lucky enough to transition from internship to full-time. So I was able to get a full-time job with that company, and then I just stayed with them until I got the job I have now.
So Landmark, when I graduated, was a long haul of jobs going from working at a Shell station to working in the technology sector, and currently owning my own business and running it with success.
So when I left Landmark, I actually followed my brother to Constant Contact. I knew I wanted to work in technology, so took a job as a tech support engineer, working on email marketing campaigns and HTML emails. Spent a year doing that and getting beaten on the phone. Nobody, I always say it, like, nobody calls tech support to tell you you're doing a good job. It's your fault. So I did that for about a year. My mother was an HR director for CalWall. If you guys see the pyramid, like, greenhouse panels up in here, those are CalWall panels on the top of these buildings. So I knew I wanted to be in HR and found recruiting to be the easiest way into that. And from there, I've been in recruiting now for 8+ years for a couple of Fortune 500s, and, knock on wood, my current company will get up into that space soon enough.
So after I left Landmark, I was unemployed. I left in December, graduated. I didn't have a job until February. I work at a company called Wellbridge, which is an addiction treatment center. And I actually started off as a receptionist, which was similarly, people don't usually call to tell you, hey, I'm having a good time. So, and then, I didn't find that fulfilling, but then, I wanted to get more involved. And I'm now an admissions specialist. And I work with the families. And a lot of the skills that I learned here, I was in residential life, I actually carry over a lot into life after Landmark that I've realized, such as, social skills, de-escalation, and really just how to talk to people in general, which is sometimes hard. So, yeah.
Great. Okay, so our next question. Did you participate in any work or internship while you were at Landmark? Feel free to answer it, Ryan, if you want, or pass along.
I'll go real quick.
Okay. Great.
In terms of work, so I just said I was on residential life. I was also on student government. And I also worked on the phone-a-thon. I also worked on the residential life training committee as well.
Great.
I got involved a couple of different ways at Landmark. I was on the men's basketball team, recruited to it within 10 minutes of stepping on campus. Basically voluntold that I was going to play, but enjoyed it. So I was a captain of the men's basketball team, which was incredibly rewarding, not just to be able to continue kind of defining myself as an athlete at that time, but to be a leader. And then in addition, I was also a student ambassador. So this is a little nostalgic for me because I used to sit on a panel on this stage speaking to folks. And I actually credit that experience to helping guide me into recruiting, because much of what I was doing there was similar to what I do in my job today, just for a company instead of a school.
Does working at the Putney Inn as a dishwasher qualify?
Absolutely, it's work. It's work. Nice.
Let's see. Okay, so while I was at Landmark, I was one of the residential assistants that worked in the residence halls. I worked a few summers also as a resident assistant, but for the summer program, high school summer program. And then during the year, I was also helping with the computer science club while I was here. I did a few internships, both in like the last year I was here with the company that I was able to get a job with, and then I was also lucky enough to intern at Hasbro in Rhode Island, which was probably one of the most fun internships I've ever had. And then I was also able to intern. I was also able to intern with LCERT, that was in the STEM center as well, and I was helping them make an app that involved creating flashcards for like sign language and stuff. So those were all really helpful in me, like, getting a job and helping improve like my professional development, and also as like my social development, and like talking to professionals and just talking to adults when it seems kind of scary, I don't know. So that's what I did.
So it's no surprise that Nate was won the Internship of the Year award the year that he graduated, because he had numerous credits through internships.
Oh, yeah.
While I was at Landmark, I was an RA for the res halls. I was also an AR, which is an advisor in residence during the high school program for a few summers. And then I also was part of the women's basketball team, and I worked in the business office. That was really good. Yeah.
Okay, so next question. What strategies did you use or do you recommend for searching for jobs?
So before even starting to actually apply for jobs, a couple of things that I recommend to people is actually start to build a list of needs from what do you want the company culture to be like, and actually define what company culture actually means to you. People, teams, work-life balance, are there specific benefits or services that you need? I also recommend actually attempting to write a job description for your ideal job. Even if you don't know what that job is, start to put something down on paper, because once you've started to formalize that in your own mind, it becomes a lot easier to spot the right job, the interesting job, the career-oriented job you're looking for once you've already started to put those pieces together in your own mind.
Okay, this is kind of a tip for applying and when you're in the interview process, but I always try to remember that, like whenever I'm in an interview or whenever I'm looking for a job, they're not only interviewing me, but I'm also interviewing them at the same time. So I try to keep that in mind whenever I'm, being interviewed, because I feel like it's pretty intimidating and pretty scary, but that's something that's always helped me.
Great. So that leads into my next question. How have you built a professional network? And let's not assume, if you guys could define what a professional network is, that would be great.
Okay, I'll try to take a stab at this. Let's see. Okay, so for me, a professional network would be a group of people that I know that usually work in the field that I either want to go into or work in the field that I find interesting. So, like when I was here as a computer science student, I met a lot of other computer science students, and I still talk to them both on like LinkedIn. I still have their emails, so I'm still in contact, and I text them every now and then, so I'm still kind of in the loop with each other. And then like every now and then we kind of just talk about what we're working on, what jobs we have, kind of like if we've seen any cool new jobs that are open, that are taking applications or anything. And then that way, like, when you have that kind of network, then you can kind of hear about new cool jobs. They can kind of help you apply to them, help you find them. And I kind of helped build my network when I was a computer science student, and when I got the internships, and Jan actually helped me kind of like make my LinkedIn page look more professional. So it also kind of helped solidify me like building a good network.
Great.
So when I kind of call it almost like a spider effect. I try to find either an industry leader or someone within the space that I want to network within. LinkedIn is actually great for this, but you can do it in other places. But you start finding people that they're connected with, people that they interact with. You start kind of going out from there in almost this spider web, and many times you can start to see where those dots connect within themselves. And at that point, you've started to identify these are a group of people that are in the same space, talking about the same things, have that expertise. And it makes it easier to kind of find your inroad into that area. LinkedIn has a variety of great tools for that. Just on the sidebar on the right, there's people also viewed, and that's people like me. When they're looking at someone like yourself, these other people are also the people that those recruiters are looking at. So you can start to find things there. Groups, meetup.com, different user groups. Doesn't even have to be a professional related one. It could be just a general interest, and chances are those people also have jobs. So you can start from an interest and move it into almost a professional network as well.
In addition to what both of these gentlemen have said, I would say interview them, and use people you trust and can rely on. Finding workers that are trustworthy and reliable are very hard to find in today's world.
Great. Thank you. So next question, we're going to transition to what they refer to as soft skills or power skills. Please share your strategies for ensuring that you convey or use strong soft skills. Or even if you want to elaborate, if you want to build it out to like provide some examples of how you convey professionalism, maybe through an email, a thank you note. What are some ways that you have exhibited soft skills?
So I myself have a tendency to have a little bit of an issue with emotional regulation. I can go from really happy to really upset and like that, and work usually sends me on that track at times. So I've actually put something in place where I will actually write an email to somebody. I won't actually put their email address in, but as an act of catharsis, actually write out the full response of what I actually want to say to that person, and then I'll delete it. Also, knowing myself, I also put a 2-minute delay on any email that I send in case I actually do hit the send button. I can go ahead and recall that back once I have a little bit of a moment of clarity. And I've learned over the years, coming in like a bull in a china shop, you may very well turn heads, but it might not be in the way that you want to. So trying to establish yourself as someone who is measured and controlled usually leads more into being able to influence. But I definitely learned that the hard way many times first.
All right. Okay, so one skill, I guess, that I use pretty frequently is, I know in my job, there's usually a lot of emails that come in, and I usually tend to try to I'll write out my response, and it usually is not the most professional written out message. It usually sounds like I'm talking to my friends with you instead of YOU or whatever. So after I type it out, usually I'll copy and paste it in Notepad, and then I'll rewrite it and make it sound more professional, make it sound more more businessy. And I've basically been doing that since I was at Landmark whenever I had to talk to a teacher, because I remember at first I just kind of would write these emails that would be really weird and it'd sound like I'm talking to my friend, and it would just not go very well usually. So after I was able to revise the email and make it sound more professional, I got a lot better of a response, both from teachers and from professionals in the real world. So yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Go ahead, Ryan.
So going off of this email trend that we've been talking about, whenever I send an email out, if there's something that, an issue I'd like to bring up, I usually like to do what I call sandwiching. And so essentially what I'll do, I'll start off with a positive, either that's hope you had a great weekend, I hope you're doing well, how's everything? Under that, I'd put what I wanted to address. And then at the end, I do another positive. And the beauty of this is that you can get across what you want to say, but you're also giving the impression that you're not being rude, you're respecting the person, but you're also hey, this is the thing I want to talk about, but have a nice weekend, kind of thing.
Yes. Wonderful, thank you. Let's talk about job search a little bit and finding the right fit. Obviously, from what I'm hearing, you're all very content in your jobs. How did you find that fit? Fit is really personal. It takes a lot of research. How did you identify whether a job or an organization or a company was going to be the right fit for you?
I mean, one of the things for me, and this is just kind of something I've known early on, is I would go into research looking at companies where there's potential growth for you. One of my fears that I've had for a very long time, before I graduated college, was that I would be stuck in a job where my favorite part of the day was going home. So one of my top priorities was finding something that, if I wanted to, I could continue to grow in the company and move on to something else in a greater capacity. And that's not always easy to find out. But I find that we were talking about LinkedIn before. Some people in companies are open to talking about it, and getting that kind of recon information is super helpful in finding the needs that you want to meet.
Great. Gianna has a response.
I'm going to answer that question a little differently because I'm not looking for a job. I'm looking for people.
Ah, nice. Right.
And when I try and find people, I try and do it in a fashion that I'm taking them with me on a job and seeing how they work and how reliable they are. And if I like them, they get a call back from me. If I don't, I move on.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, for me, I guess one thing I really learned was from my Hasbro internship is that I really, really value like work-life balance. And I never realized how important that was to me before the internship, and especially before I came to Landmark, because I have ADHD, so my executive functioning and like time management is really, really bad usually. And when I was at the internship, I got to work with a bunch of people who were both like patient, and they also like would explain things like if I didn't understand things, and they would kind of make sure that like I need to like take my time if I'm trying to figure something out and I don't understand it. And then after I realized that was really important to me, I kind of tried to make sure that like look for companies that kind of emphasize they have like a work-life balance and that they really listen to their employees. And that's how I kind of stumbled upon the job that I have now, and I'm really glad that I have it right now.
Great. Great.
I can just go really quickly. When I applied to Mansfield, I was coming off of being an RA here, and I really love working with students with all kinds of diagnoses, and I wanted to continue that field work. So as soon as I got into Mansfield and I was interacting with students there, everyone was so welcoming and nice, and it felt like I was back at Landmark in some ways, because I'm just working with students from like 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. every day, and it's just wonderful. I just get the same rewarding experience of watching them grow and learn life skills every day.
So I worked at a number of different companies, and more often than not left because I wasn't feeling it anymore. Most often it was not about compensation, though that's always a factor, right? But I think for me it was about what was going to get me up at every morning and feel excited about going to work. Mm-hmm. You know, not having the Sunday scaries where you're thinking about, oh, Monday's coming tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I worked at Wayfair for a while. It was a fun place to work. Fast-growing company, really progressive from just a work-life balance and culture perspective. But bottom line is I'm not passionate about furniture at all. Like, to me, a couch is a couch. But I work for Chewy today. I've always been a dog lover. I feel passionate about not just selling people dog food, but everything else that the company does. And if you can connect with that mission, and to Ryan's point, actually have a career path forward where you can see yourself taking that next step and potentially that next step, that's what gets you motivated. It's what gets you excited. It makes you want to say, hey, I want to go from this position to the senior position, or become a manager, or create an impact. And it feels less like work and more like just going and doing something you have fun doing.
Great. Okay, so the time is really progressing, but I am going to ask you the question that is debated and posed to our office quite often. At what point in your job search or the interview process, or once you're hired, do you decide or decide not to disclose your learning difference? Gianna?
Someone else is going to go.
Okay, so this one, I've definitely talked to a lot of people about this one. For me, I feel like it's important to disclose this, like, usually, like, earlier on in the interview, because if I know, like, I have ADHD. Before I came to Landmark, I was a lot more self-conscious about it and kind of like didn't feel like I could do anything else that neurotypical people could do, I guess. But after I came out of Landmark, I was a lot more confident in my abilities, and I kind of realized that, you know, like, I can do everything that everyone else can do. I just might have to use some different strategies, to still get the job done. And, like if I tell my employer that I have ADHD and like, if they don't like that, then I don't want to work for them. Like that's where everyone's dodging a bullet. And then on top of that, like they would know that like if I don't always maintain eye contact and I'm looking up, that they know that I'm like thinking and I'm not ignoring them. So I feel like it's always good, in my opinion, for both parties, just be aware and be on the same page.
Yeah.
So Mansfield Hall works with students that are on the spectrum, that also have ADHD, that have dyslexia, that have all kinds of different learning differences. So when I talk to my students, they're always like, oh, what brought you here? Oh, you went to Landmark College. That's a school for people that have learning differences. And it kind of just jumps into, oh yeah, like I have slow processing, I have mild ADHD, I have, a bunch of stuff that you just get into talking with them and they're like, wow, we can connect with you so much better because you have an LD. Like us.
Right.
Oh, wait, can I add one more?
Sure.
Okay, one more thing about this is about the community. I just want to say something about the community. The community at Landmark is so supportive of students that have because we all have LDs, we've all been through similar situations, and I feel like it kind of creates a bond, and I don't really know how to describe it, but it's probably one of the most supportive environments I've ever been into, and I've missed it since I've graduated college, but it is just something that just gives you confidence in something that I was really self-conscious about before, and I can't underestimate how important that is and how important it is to me that I'm more confident in my abilities because of it.
Yeah.
So my answer again is going to be a little bit on the different side because I'm dealing with customers and that customer needs to know, who I am. Well, my answer is I don't really care what they think as long as I'm doing my job and doing it right. What does it matter whether I'm dyslexic or not? Mm-hmm. If I get the job done, it doesn't matter who you hire.
Great.
I think one of the beauties of Landmark is whether you've accepted your diagnosis or struggle or not, the minute you step on campus, one of the first things you're going to hear is, hi, my name's so-and-so and I have autism, or hi, my name's so-and-so and I have ADHD. It was one of the most surprising things to me. I'd never been in an environment like that before, but it got you comfortable actually disclosing who you are and what you've struggled with. Just talking about it in a place where we all go through it. I think John Elder Robinson was saying it earlier, we're all weird here. We're in this together. From an employment perspective, I didn't disclose until I worked at New Balance. And there were many times where people would question whether or not, are you fully in this? Are you listening to me? Are you committed? And it wasn't until I started saying, listen, I struggle with an executive function. It's not a matter of I don't care. It's a matter of if you ask me to do 10 things, I'm probably going to order them 1, 8, 7, 5, 2, 4, 3. Just because that's the way it is. And forget 10. But once I started disclosing, the aha moment was when I mentioned it to the senior vice president of HR at New Balance and explaining exactly what I struggle with, how I struggle with it, and why these things get perceived in a different way. And the aha moment was when she looked at me and said, you know what, my daughter struggles with the exact same thing, and that makes a lot of sense. And it was at that point that it hit me saying, if you just tell someone, listen, I'm not going to look you in the face when you're talking to me because I'm processing and I'm thinking, but I am listening to you and I'm going to give you a response. I might just take 3 or 4 more seconds after you're done. That you build that trust, you earn it with them, and I think once you've disclosed and they get who you are, it becomes less weird and more, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone else has been really saying, is that, when being honest and self-disclosing, I think that it's a really good idea to kind of give people an example about hey, if I act this way, this is what this means. Because, in times I've found that people know about diagnoses, but they don't understand it. Meaning that someone can say, oh, I'm on the spectrum, and people can be like, oh, okay, but they don't know okay, so when you're not looking at me, do you not like me? So I think that when self-disclosing, it's important to make sure to give them an example, be like, hey, this may happen, but this is what this means, and I am still able to do what's expected of me.
Yeah, wonderful. Promised you an opportunity at the end to ask some questions. We are running a little bit behind in regards to our presentation from the Career Connections office. The panelists will be present at the reception. If you have a burning question, because this always happens to me, I'm like, please raise your hand, but if your question can wait till the panelists are at the reception, that would be great, but we don't want to leave someone here with a burning question. Okay, yes.
What role, if you look at your careers, has Landmark played as you think on a scale of 10, let's give it 0 being couldn't care less a role, you look at where you are today, where does Landmark sit in your view of your success in your jobs?
Personally, honestly, 8 to 9. In my line of work, I get a lot of people calling for mental health issues, and they have questions and they're confused and scared. And what I've learned at Landmark with, interacting with so many different types of people is that you can't treat every case the same. And you need to have different solutions for different types of people. And it's not easy, but knowing how to handle those situations and how to de-escalate and relate with the person and validate feelings and such like that makes such a huge difference to people. And I've learned that through residential life and just talking with people here as well. And it's such a great skill to have because a lot of times people have difficulty connecting with others and people don't listen and understand. And oh, that's an 8 to 10, definitely.
Hey, Gianna.
Oh. I mean, I thought we would just go down then. There we go. I wouldn't be where I am today if I hadn't come to Landmark. The path I was on was bluntly untenable. It was dangerous. So coming to Landmark gave me the opportunity to take my academic life with a fresh start. Through being a student ambassador, I gained the skills I needed to be a recruiter, though I didn't know it at the time. Being a team captain gave me the opportunity to lead on the court, but also take my teammates under my wing as my family. So, I mean, I'd give it a solid 10. I'm part of the Alumni Advisory Board. I believe very strongly in giving back as much, if not more, than I took from this college, because they truly gave me the life that I have today. Married, bought a house, have a dog. Wouldn't have imagined having that with the path I was on prior to here.
Yeah.
So without sounding repetitive, I wouldn't be where I am today without Landmark. And as a business owner, it's very enlightening to be able to do what I want, when I want, and not have someone to report to. And couldn't have done that without Landmark.
Okay, I would definitely say a 10 because, I would not be here, like everyone else said, would not be here without Landmark. It's basically, it changed my life, basically. It put me on a whole new path, and I'm so much happier and in a much better place than I would have been if I had stayed in California and, just struggled with figuring out who I am and what I'm good at and what I'm not good at.
I would 100% say 10 also. Mansfield Hall is a place where students come and learn skills and interact with each other and learn to socialize with each other. And I don't think I would have gained those skills if I didn't come to Landmark. I forgot to mention I was also an RD, and I did an RD internship, which is a resident director internship here, and that really helped me build the confidence to talk in front of people, like right now, and just talk to students and help them through whatever they're going through, regardless of what it is, just if they're dysregulated, if they're just homesick, or whatever it is. Landmark really taught me those skills and really helped me bring that into my career.
I want to also add that being at Landmark could only have happened with my parents being behind me And I think that is key, is having good parents to be behind you and support you, not only financially, but emotionally.
Thank you. So, if you ever need to transition to a new job, we'll absolutely hire you for our marketing communication team. You guys did an amazing job. So, a round of applause for our panelists. So as I mentioned, they will be at the reception. At this point, we're going to transition to, so you can hear a little bit about Career Connections and the services that we provide students, both as enrolled students as well as alumni. Thank you so much. Great job. Okay, so I will try not to whiz through these slides because I know people are anxious to get to the reception. We might go a little over, but planning the next step. At Landmark, our office provides an array of services for students in a realm of areas. We help them with transfer support, internship, career readiness skills, and as you heard through the panel, internships. We have a signature program that you're going to hear about in a few minutes called Landmark College Works that provides work experience while enrolled as a Landmark student. So these are different areas where we support students. We help them understand where their strengths are. It's a very individualized approach to career services that you won't see on another college campus. We don't just give them a resource and send them on their way. It's really individualized, student leading the process support service for our students. And it's very much student-led. The student comes to us, we work with them, we help them understand what their skills and strengths are and what attributes they can bring into an internship, into a career. We also help them build some career readiness skills so that they are really new to the world of work, that they gain the confidence and the strategies to be successful in the workforce. The way that we do it is through a myriad of ways. We work with various different faculty. We come into the classrooms and provide curriculum that's career readiness based. We provide workshops. Right now this semester we have a workshop every Wednesday. We do combined events like today where we work with another office, the alumni office or the student affairs office, and just infuse career curriculum throughout the college campus. When do we do it? There's no perfect time. Students come to Landmark at different entry points. They may come having been in the working world already or brand new as a freshman. So the point of entry is very different for the Landmark College population. So there's no set time. We are intervening much more earlier in a student's, or much earlier in a student's experience at Landmark. We work with STEP students and TAC students. But the one rule of thumb I want to convey is that if a student is considering an internship or a transfer, we love for them to connect with us 2 semesters before they want to be in that next place. Not because we are unaware of all that they have going on. It's really so that we can help them map it out in doable, lack of stress approach to a job search or an internship. At this point, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Jonathan, who's going to speak about the transfer process.
All right, as Jan mentioned, we do want students to begin the transfer process early, and we really want it to be driven by the students themselves. That would be important to us, and that would be an indication to us and to the family that the student is ready to transfer. We often break down the transfer process into bite-sized chunks, as Jan said, to avoid the stress of a major project. And when students meet with me, especially for the first time about transferring, we talk about what they're looking for in the next school. And we begin that by me asking them what they utilize at Landmark that helps them be successful here, because we're looking to continue that level of success at the next school. That's very important to everyone that I work with. And then we talk about other filters and categories that students are most interested in. For some, it's campus size. All right, how many people go to that school? We can't find them too many schools that are as small as Landmark. So we work with them on, what size feels right to them. All kinds of academic supports. We have many resources that help guide us to colleges that do things in a similar way. Geography plays a big role in transferring. Where does the student want to be? All right, that helps us limit. And we also help them manage deadlines. All right, that's where the stress comes in again. So if a deadline is coming up on October 1st for a student, does the student have time to make a strong effort toward applying to that school? And we help them, get their transcripts together as well. Landmark students are welcome at many, many different colleges around the country, and I think you saw a stat on the last slide, 57 different four-year colleges. That's the absolute truth. In terms of some names, students that have been working with me and others in the department have been welcomed at Boston University, Mitchell College, Iona, Washington College, Ohio State, Adelphi, and many others. So students are very welcome in other places. We have articulation agreements with certain colleges, and the next slide will show a little bit more about that. But we also have friendly arrangements with many colleges that I've had situations where we've reached out to a transfer counselor right during an appointment and been able to get some helpful feedback within the same half hour. So we try to keep those contacts close. All right, here you have some names of colleges that we have some articulation agreements with, and others that we're key partners with. On the right-hand side, you have a list of colleges that have expressed enough of an interest in our college to come to a recent career fair. All right. I'm going to turn this over to Clark.
Most of them are still open.
Yes.
Look at that. Hi, everybody. Take my mask off. So yeah, the career readiness that we really focus on the strengths-based approach, which is kind of a landmark model to begin with. Really looking at assessing your interests. We really focus on how well, and we hear this from our transfer people too, how well we know our students when we're sending them to places. Same with internships. We spend a lot of time one-on-one with our students, learning what their interests are, assessing their values and their strengths, and really trying to customize a path for them that they see for themselves. Also with focusing on the career choice, the best fit for the environment. Working on, like we were saying, the panel was talking earlier about the mission. That you really connect with the school you want to move to or the next step career-wise, it helps with motivation. So we really work on that. And then the last piece, which is very important, that's self-advocacy. And Landmark really works hard at helping students, all phases of their education, talking about their LD and what they need to be successful, what helps them be their best when they show up. So that's a big piece of what we do. We really dial in the student on what they want, an inside-out process, as well as looking out and educating themselves about the world out there and what they need to learn. the independent skills. We were talking about soft skills earlier. It's things like professionalism. Nate was addressing that with the emails, some of the talk we had about how you interact with people. The follow-up and consistently the messaging that you put out there. We've worked with students around elevator pitches so that they can talk about what's going on, how they present themselves, polishing up their interview skills, their communication skills in general. The success momentum we like to focus on, embracing their experiences and how they communicate those experiences. Not all of them are good experiences, but they can learn from them and grow from them and be able to communicate all their different experiences in a positive spin, what they've learned. We don't talk so much about failures as you tried something, you got out of your comfort zone, and you got to learn something from how to do better next time. And it gives you kind of that strength to continue on. We engage the resources that students have. The networking's a big part of that. Being able to talk to your family members, friends, people you know, and start building that comfort zone about talking about what your professional persona is and how you put yourself out there. And that'll build, and you start to get that momentum. You get more comfortable with talking about yourself in that context of being a professional. And how the things you're learning in classes and the things you're doing in the student government or activities and clubs and the different things you're passionate about, that voice starts to become your professional voice, and you can communicate that to your future employers or people you're talking about when you're looking at internships or any steps you take along the way. It's a maturation process, and it's really cool to watch students go from that first interaction we have with them. Sometimes it's that first week of their freshman year, and what they sound like and how they present to how they are when they step out into the world and are ready to go. It's quite a transformation. Informing dreams is a big piece of learning what's their vision and how can they crystallize that vision through a direct process of meeting with us one-on-one, but also talking to their faculty and looking at what it is they want to do. And I like to talk about what they don't know, and how they can start informing themselves about those paths that are open to them based on that dream and vision that they have, and how that crystallizes in the work they do with everybody on campus. We might be the Career Connections office, but everybody's working on that evolution. What's next? The whole community approach. Look at that, I introduced that without even knowing it. Yeah, so that, like I said, that everything that goes on and even in the lower general ed courses, those beginning courses, it's all still part of that evolution of learning what you like, what you don't like, where your strengths lie, what really resonates for you when you're taking classes, and then how that leads to involvement with the things like when Ryan was talking about the student government and a number of them working in Res Life and a number of them working on clubs or being on sports teams. Some students come here never thinking they could be on a sports team, and then all of a sudden they're playing on a sports team. And it's a pretty special connection that they make with their teammates and an experience that they have. The same with some of the other activities and with admissions and campus ambassador and different jobs I see, orientation leaders or working in the peers program or social pragmatics. There's a lot of places our students engage in the community and grow and build strengths based on that. So because it is a campus where students learn differently, and like you were alluding in the panel, when you step on campus, you really do hear about what it means to be who you are and own that. And that ownership brings power, and it brings personal strength that really goes a long way in the next steps you take. So that's why this model works clearly, because we've been successful for a long time with a lot of people whose lives have been changed by being here. And that's what gets us to come to work every day. is watching what happens with our students be successful. I'll turn it back over to Jan. Thank you.
All right, so just a few more minutes and then we all set. Just giving you guys a time check here. So you heard about the internships. I think the best way was the panel. But we just want to make sure people are clear that internships at Landmark, you get academic credit for them. Many of them are paid experiences, and there's opportunities to do them while at Landmark and over the summer. We actually work with some companies that have supportive programs that are much more inclusive of learning differences. So we all believe in experiential opportunities really propelling a student forward. These are some of our partnerships. We actually, October 15th, are going to have some of these partners on campus doing a program called Neurodiversity Goes to Work. They'll do an information panel. They'll be conducting some interviews. So we highly encourage you to encourage your students to attend those, that event on October 15th. There's flyers all around campus. And then Nate referred to our Hasbro partnership, and that's probably one of the most popular partnerships we have. One signature program that I don't want you to leave our session not hearing about is called the Employment Readiness Experience. This is something that is a signature program at Landmark. It's now starting to exist at other colleges, but we piloted this program, and it's something that resulted from seeing a lot of students who were eager to intern but had no work experience. So the Employment Readiness Experience is a tandem experience where they have a class in the morning and they work in the afternoon, and they're guaranteed jobs on campus through this program. Students apply to the program, they interview for it, they're selected, and they're connected with the supervisor on campus. This has amazing data. We actually just received recognition by National Association for Colleges and Employers because of the trajectory of our students who participate in this program. So I highly encourage you to look around campus, check in with us, check with advisors if you have a student or you are here as a student and are looking for work experience, to look into the ERE. It's a great experience. And folks, that's about it. Another round of applause for our panelists. Here's our contact information. Thank you very much for coming. We will also be at the reception if there's questions, and there's literature up here if you need a little bit more information. Our business cards are there. Thank you so much. You've been a really wonderful audience.